Welcome to a special edition of the World of Adjectives. I'm Geoff.
I'm Ron.
And today we are doing our spoiler-free and complete in-depth, spoiler-filled review of Captain America 3 Civil War.
All the spoilers at the end of this.
All the spoilers at the end of it. And if you haven't seen this yet, first of all, shame on you. First of all, I don't think anyone has not seen this, because did you see how much money this fucking movie made? Dude?
Oh, it made a lot. In fact, I had meant to have box office
181 million just domestic.
Yeah.
It has been out now for a week and a half. It's been opening weekend domestic here in America, and then I think it premiered, I don't know if it was a worldwide opening the previous week, but it was at least in like Europe.
Yeah. It's
sitting at like 724 million worldwide right now. BVS, after like a month and a half, 860s. They've almost caught up to them in a week and a half. It's crazy.
Yeah, let's see. I'm on Box Office Mojo. I
believe the opening weekend was like 181, unless they got the official numbers in.
Yeah, the most recent update, which I always forget where they put what the date is. Oh, as of May 10th. Worldwide, like you said, 737 million is where we're sitting right now. 206 domestic.
What's crazy, too, is they beat BVS in the opening weekend. And Batman v Superman has Batman and Superman.
Yeah.
The two most marketable and most well-known superheroes on the planet. And the Captain America v Iron Man movie whooped its ass. It's just crazy the world we live in. But yeah, we don't want to spend too much time harping on BVS, as fun as it is.
Yeah, yes.
But we're going to talk some fucking Civil War, dude. And I can actually sum up the entire review by saying my first note that I wrote down while setting up my notes was, it's what Batman v Superman wants to be when it grows up.
Done. That's all you need to know. Podcast over.
It is absolutely eerie how many parallels there are between the two films.
Yeah.
It's and it's not like a thing where Civil War came out like 3 years afterwards or vice versa, where they ripped it off.
Yeah.
It was just purely coincidental how similar they were.
Yeah, no, it's pretty crazy.
It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, no, and it's also crazy how much better done this movie was.
Yeah, so we're going to be giving just some kind of generalizations. You can watch it spoiler-free up until we will for sure let you know a couple times when to quit listening if you haven't watched it yet. But
yes.
Really, really go check it out. It's fantastic. What my first note I put down was, what makes this movie work so well is that they had 12 movies prior.
Yes.
This movie could be, because of that, plot the entire fucking time. There was no dicking around in this film, and it really, really was set up and paced brilliantly to me.
Yes, and not to continue the Batman vs Superman talk, but that was my biggest concern about that movie, because they had like 5 movies leading into the first Avengers movie. This one's had, was it 12 or 13? 12 movies.
This
leading
is
up
the
to this
13th.
one? So
yeah, there was 12 of lead up.
So yeah, again, this thing is set up by all the movies prior because they're all part of the same universe.
What was crazy
you just hit the ground running and keep going.
What was crazy about this movie too is this movie could work if it was listed as a title as an Iron Man sequel. It could work if it was a Captain America sequel, which it is.
Yep.
It could be an Avengers sequel.
It really could.
And it accomplishes everything it sets out to do with... Well, this could have gone off the rails even worse than BVS did. Because when you break it down, it is a Cap sequel, it's an Iron Man sequel, it's an Avengers sequel, and they set up Black Panther and Spider-Man.
Yep.
Work of art. How well they did that, because... I mean, it is just crazy. And I don't know if you actually heard this, but some of it was done on the fly, too. Because when they started the script, they didn't have Spider-Man yet.
Right.
They had to write in contingencies because of rights. Because they actually had a draft of the script that was going to go into play if they didn't get Spider-Man wrapped up.
Yeah.
So the fact that you watch this finished product and it's just kind of flawless in the way, like, there are no plot holes, really.
Yeah.
It's just, I was stunned they were able to pull it off as well as they did. It's tonally also fantastic script writing, because it's about as good as Game of Thrones is, as far as when it's supposed to be lighthearted and they want it to be that way, it totally works that way. When they want it to be heavy and dark, it works when it's heavy and dark.
And the reason that works, and you can even say that, is because Marvel seems to have a hang-up when it comes to developing their villains. There's only one that they've technically ever truly developed.
The movies.
In the movies.
The TV shows have been a little better.
Yeah, but in the movies, You can argue a few others, but there's only one glaring enemy they've had the entire time that they've developed at all. So to get a movie where the heroes have been the focal point of everything, where they're against each other, it actually starts pushing some of your emotional buttons.
Because the best conflict they can have is with each other.
Yes.
Because you are completely invested in every single one of them. That's the other crazy thing, too. BVS did not fully develop the motivations of 3 characters. They couldn't even do it. I still, to this day, don't know what Lex's plan or why he was doing it. This movie has about 25 characters, and you know the motivations of every single one of them. Fucking mind-numbing how they were able to do that.
Though, even if they have a very small reason for being there, you buy the reason as to why that character is there.
The action is actually representative of the tone, too, because I don't know if you caught this. I'm not going to be going into any spoilers or details. The opening action of the movie, the first probably 20 minutes of fight scenes worth in the film, are actually shot like John Wick is. It's very in your face, and it's actually showing that superhero action isn't always glamorous.
I was gonna say, I noticed the action was a little bit darker this time.
And it
was still like Marvel lighthearted overtones with it, but this entire movie, in fact, is glaringly darker compared to the others.
Especially for them. But like the chase sequence at the beginning of the film. The action is actually shot very in your face and close up, and it's actually showing kind of how barbaric and how, like I was saying, superhero action in this universe isn't always glamorous. It can be dark and heavy.
Yeah.
And then when you move on later in the film, when it's meant to be shot more like spectacle, they zoom out a little bit and they let you have your spectacle too. So like even the action represents its tone. It's like brilliantly shot. You can really tell that. I mean, the Winter Soldier from the Russo brothers already had good action, but adding those John Wick dudes, they had some bad. And what's cool too is that it's harder to wow us now. It's a little easier to wow us if you're making the first Avengers movie, because at its core, it's the first time we've ever seen that happen. Now, this is the 13th time we've seen Marvel characters in action, so it's harder to wow you, and there are still moments where you're like blown away.
Speaking, the third team movie.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The action scene that you've seen in the trailers at the airport is one of the most fun action sequences I've ever seen in a film. It is 20 minutes of gold. It is absolutely incredible. It is,
and that's the other thing, too. So, Batman vs. Superman, I'm not even going to call spoilers for this on Batman vs. Superman because that movie is just awful. But you call it Batman vs. Superman and give me a 3-minute fight. I don't even think it was 5 minutes. I'm going to call it 3 minutes fight. And then this movie, like you said, that scene alone is like 20 minutes, and that's not the only scene. Unlike
BVS, it earns its title.
Yes.
You don't feel cheapened at all. I actually, one of my notes was, it is like your favorite comic book brought to life. It's just crazy, like all the shit they have going down in that one sequence you see in the trailer, and there are many other great action sequences too.
And you know what was awesome? I also like the fact, again, still spoiler free, that the fighting style of each character, each individual character,
all like 20 of them,
was true to that character, and their advantages and disadvantages over the other characters were still true to the characters.
They never had to like bullshit it. Yeah, because almost all of them have a weakness that plays out when there's that many characters, almost like rock paper scissors. Like some of them have an edge on one another.
Some of them have a matchup, and some of them can steamroll. And you know the way that you would think some of them get steamrolled, because that character is that character, has a way around it because they know their weakness and stuff like that. I cannot imagine how much yarn and how many pins they needed to figure out how to do that.
And it never feels like a mess like Age of Ultron did.
Yeah.
This movie is 5 times as ambitious as Ultron was. Yeah, and I don't know, like Ultron is not up to their standards, but it's not a bad film.
Yeah.
But this movie was so ambitious, and just the fact that they were able to pull off as much as they did in this film, it is a work of art as far as not even just comic book movies. I think just as far as attacking this as a script.
Yeah.
I thought it was just absolute genius as well as it came out.
Very solid movie.
I put at the end of the day, the movie delivers spectacle, but really is a film about characters, which I really liked about it. Is this movie, as much as like, I mean, obviously they're going to sell it in the trailers with like the airport action sequences of them all fighting, but the character moments are just as compelling as the action.
Well, they got to flesh out the characters a lot more in this.
Yeah.
Because at its heart, that's what this movie is actually about. You know, you've already seen the spectacle of Iron Man flying around and blowing shit up. You've seen Cap throw his shield a bunch. And just to have a whole movie of that, you've seen that 13 times now. Well, 12 times now.
Yeah.
So for the 13th movie, they actually got to explore the characters' personas and their personalities, and that is what the entire story is based on.
That's
what makes this movie different from the others.
It's simultaneously a revenge movie. It's an espionage movie. It's a superhero action spectacle. It delivers on so many different levels. It is just crazy. And then like the last thing I wanted to put in the spoiler-free section was, where do you rank it? I know you've only seen it the one time. There's so much going on, you really have to watch it at least twice to fully wrap your mind around it, I think. Because
probably 3 times.
Because
which I'm sure you won't argue with.
Hell no, dude. I watched it for the second time yesterday, and I was able to fully kind of cement it, I think, where I have it ranked. So where would you put it after one viewing in the Marvel Pantheon on your rankings?
Oh, God. 13 movies, you're asking me. It's in the top 3.
Do you want me to tell you mine while you're kind of hammering it out in your brain? What were your 3 going in? Let's start with there.
Avengers number 1.
Okay.
And I don't even have to think about that one.
That's my number 1 as well going in.
I've always had kind of a tie for 2 ever since Ant-Man came along.
Ant-Man and Iron Man?
Well, my 2 was Guardians or Ant-Man.
Really? You like Guardians even more than the first Iron Man? I would not have pegged you for that.
Yes and no. It's just a thing. I don't know. That movie was so fun.
I love Guardians, but the villain thing really drags it down for me. Like, it's still probably top 6 for me, roughly top 5, but like the first Iron Man, it also gets pointers for setting up everything. Yeah. Jeff Bridges is one of their better villains.
He is. And you understand what he's doing and why.
And you got the brilliant chemistry between Terrence Howard and Robert Downey Jr. Like, there is just about nothing wrong with the first Iron Man movie. I'll tell you my favorite 3 going into Civil War were Avengers number 1, The Winter Soldier at 2, and then the first Iron Man was my 3. After that, I think Ant-Man would probably be my number 4, because I adore Ant-Man. It's just so much...
Yeah. I think it would have to be Avengers and then Civil War and probably Iron Man. I think it just because I don't get any Guardians in it, but I get Ant-Man in my Civil War also. So just because I said those 2 movies were so fun. So Avengers was my spectacle, then it was my fun ones, and then Iron Man is kind of a mix of
That's
everything.
exactly what happened with me in my ranking of this film. Okay, the first time my top 2, and I thought Avengers, Winter Soldier, and Iron Man were a tier. I think for me, they are the ones where you have to really be fucking nitpicking to find a problem with them. Like, they're like very, very tight scripts, hard to find issues with them. My favorite 2 were Avengers and Winter Soldier. And Civil War is like a hybrid between the 2. Yeah. It delivers a lot of the spectacle, like you were saying with Avengers 1, plus it's just like a fucking super tight script. There's no dicking around in it. It has a good villain, which we're going to talk about later. The villain has completely clear motivations, which is kind of rare for the Marvel movies too, because a lot of the time we still don't know what the fucking Guardians villain was doing.
I know. Half the time I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
Ronan, I think.
Ronan the Accursed, I think, was his name.
I see. You took it further than I did.
I think. But I forgot the Ronan part. I already forgot.
Well, he was definitely cursed since they didn't even give him 5 minutes of screen time.
Ronan the Accursed.
But see, here's another reason for Guardians, just to defend myself a little bit further. For me, the way I see it also, it was kind of their first experiment of breaking their own formula and stepping out of their comfort zone. Because I feel like Guardians is the reason why you have Ant-Man, which is a heist film, and not the typical formula that they always follow.
Yeah,
and stuff like that. So
Civil
like
War,
you said, Iron Man set up everything. Well, I feel like Guardians set up
pointers for going outside the box.
Yeah, it was their first experiment.
So, since Civil War is so much of a hybrid between Avengers and Winter Soldier, Civil War is actually, I think, my new favorite, even over the first Avengers film, because
I can't top that.
My thing with the first Avengers film is there were moments in Civil War that got me as excited as I was watching the first Avengers film. And then for them to be able to even get close to that after you've already seen it. Avengers, part of the experience of it is that you had never seen that accomplished before. So for them to have to kind of reinvent the wheel and get you back up to that level of excitement, I would probably need to watch it a third time to be absolutely sure, but I think if you put me on the record right now, I think Civil War might be, just because of how ambitious it is, seeing Spidey with them really brought it up a notch, like just as a geek out moment. I have so much respect for them pulling this off when at any point it could have gone horribly awry.
Oh yeah,
that I think it might be my favorite.
I can't do that just because one, it's if they kind of had a little bit of a loophole with being able to push all of your emotional buttons because you've seen these characters for 12 movies. And, I mean, not all of them, to be fair, but you've seen 12 movies of these characters, I mean. And you have an attachment to them already. The Avengers, you got their backstories, but you didn't have near the attachment to them going in. But, I mean, you know what I mean? It wasn't as strong of a bond to them. And the Avengers, there's no reason that movie really should have worked anyway, but it did. So, I mean, I give them props for recreating a lot of those feelings, but still nothing compares to me that first time I saw the Avengers in theaters.
It's definitely the most fun movie they'll ever make.
Yeah.
But I think what does give Civil War some props is that with the action in Avengers, it's fun when they're fighting each other for, just because that's kind of like a studio
and that's the other thing, too. I'm not big on the heroes bashing each other's brains out.
I think the airport sequence is mostly for fun.
Yes, which
but
it was.
What we're going to talk about later in the spoiler section is when it's not for fun, it's gripping.
Yeah.
And at its core, the Avengers action, while amazing and was so much fun, was always fun. It being gripping to you, and because the Avengers at the third act of the Avengers is all the Avengers teaming up and whooping alien ass. When you don't have a rooting interest because no one is wrong, it's like you don't know who to root for, and to me that it's a more intellectual Marvel experience almost.
Yes.
And you know me,
in a way, this one, as similar as it is to Avengers, is also like we're talking about with them doing an experiment and stepping outside of the box at the same time. It's like a mesh of those two ideals, because while it is, it's a Civil War, it's a Captain America movie, but it's technically an Avengers movie,
but you don't feel cheapened as a Cap fan.
You don't feel cheapened as a Cap fan, but I don't know. It's just amazing to me how adult this movie can be, but at the same time, it's not too adult for the kids that are in the theater.
And that was actually, I'll go ahead. We're not doing spoilers yet, but my first note, and I can actually bump it up without going into spoilers. The movie is heavy, but it never feels exhausting, which is what BVS felt.
Yes.
Because as dark as Civil War gets, and it gets fucking dark because we're about to go into it in detail, they bring you back in with a joke.
Yeah.
And it's like the thing with the problem with BVS is that when they were writing it, they wrote it with heavy and dark 99% of the time, and it does literally feel exhausting. You shouldn't feel exhausted during a superhero movie. Period.
Yeah,
it's bad writing.
I couldn't tell if I was exhausted walking out of that movie because of how heavy and dark it was, or just because of how pissed off I was with everything that was wrong with it.
What's crazy though is. So for you, we're completely splitting hairs because your number one and your number two are my number one and my number two.
Yeah,
and it's just crazy. It's crazy to me. And we're like, how you were saying, it's that high for you, and you don't even like it when the heroes fight each other. So
Yeah.
it's like it was incredibly well done.
Yeah.
It is definitely in their top tier, I think. But yeah, I think with that we're gonna go into spoilers now. So
Yeah.
if you have not seen the film, there's your cue. If you have not seen the film, for the love of God, go check it out. But we're gonna start right now, and just to be sure, that's the only way to be sure. The movie succeeds at being dark when it wants to be and lighthearted when it wants to be, as I was saying earlier, kind of like Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
In that, like...
It's funny how it felt like kind of the same tone as Game of Thrones, but still fine for kids.
Okay, when we were talking... We're going to go into detail about how adult it is. And one of the other parallels between this and BVS was actually, I thought it dealt with fallout from superhero movie destruction so much better. Because... basically, with BVS, you never really get a payoff between the ideals between Batman's point of view and Superman's. Batman is going after Superman because of what happened in Metropolis. Mm-hmm. Batman's fucking killing people.
Yeah, it's no different.
There's no clear line in the sand like with Civil War. Everyone has a point.
The glaring difference for me between the two movies was Batman vs. Superman. While we had a major global event that levels almost an entire city, and that would, as much as that would shock the world into a response, to me, what was more compelling about Civil War was the fact that we had smaller, more isolated stuff, which you can argue Age of Ultron was going to be a global thing, but his plan failed. And I guess the first Avengers is going to be global, but again, plan failed at New York. But we had seen 12 times now, the world had watched something happen between a superhero and a villain. Well, I guess 11, Guardians wasn't on Earth. But that many times, the world watched shit go down and the wanton destruction happening. And they point this out in the movie. When the heroes are done, they just move on. You know, and you never hear about it anymore. So as opposed to one major event versus 11 separate events all over the world that were all major and would have caused a lot of death and destruction, which that's one thing that's kind of shocking about the Marvel movies to me. They don't shy away from the death. They don't show it as in your face, as like...
a shit ton of people die in the first Avengers movie.
Yeah.
A shit ton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, there's no getting around. They kind of allude to in Man of Steel that people may have been evacuated, but there's still a lot of deaths there. It's kind of ambiguous, however you want to interpret it.
Yeah.
Batman versus Superman, a lot of people die, mostly at the hands of Batman. But they don't shy away from the Captain America's shooting people, and stuff like that. So in the Marvel movies, not in this one, but
in World War II, he did.
Yeah, and
he doesn't really do that anymore.
No,
yeah.
But to me, it just makes more sense as the groundwork for this movie, the foundation of this movie, to be all these separate events that you have watched up until now. And then they point out their own thing about it where when the battle's over, the heroes just move on and cause more destruction somewhere.
What I think one of the most brilliant things about this movie, too, is no one is wrong.
Yeah.
You fully understand everyone's motivations. Iron Man feels guilty for Ultron and all the shit that's been going on.
See, and that's the other thing. You have seen him a couple of times try to do something.
Yeah, like he says in the film, the whole basis around him becoming Iron Man was him shutting down the weapons divisions because he saw what they were doing with his weapons.
Yeah. then, in Iron Man 3, you see the groundwork laid for the Iron Legion. And then, in Ultron, he creates Ultron and, half creates the Vision. Ultron starts the Vision. So, yeah.
So Iron Man is all on board the Accords. And we're not going to recap the entire fucking movie because we'll be here for 3 hours if we do that. So we're talking
fast. It's probably already going to be 3 hours by the time
we're talking fast. Okay, Iron Man feels guilty because and wants to sign the Accords, right?
Yes.
He's not wrong because they do need to be kept in check to a certain degree. The problem and why I tended to agree with Captain America, is because the people he's getting in bed with order a fucking hit on Bucky.
Yeah.
Full-on execution style. If Captain America doesn't step in when he does, Bucky is executed, guilty until proven innocent, because of a blurry picture on a video that got sent in really, really coincidentally.
Yeah.
It was literally, fuck it, we're going to murder him.
The thing that won me to Cap's side, and Cap has always been kind of my least favorite hero on the Marvel side until Winter Soldier. But the thing he says is, the people that would be keeping them in check all have agendas of their own.
Exactly.
They all have political agendas, and that's the thing he didn't like. And that's the thing that won me over to his side more than anything is, do you know how much power that is to be the senator or the president that can call in the Avengers?
And you want to know, this is actually a line I would have put in the film too. If they had always been straight up taking orders from a world-elected council, they wouldn't have a New York to go home to.
Yeah.
They call in, the world-elected council calls in the nuclear strike to New York. And if it wasn't for Nick Fury and Iron Man and all of them at the end, New York would have been nuked.
Yep.
So, and not only that, that World Council was able to be hijacked by Hydra. One of them is Hydra. So, they can kind of trust each other. They can never truly trust those people because at the end of the day, I mean, they're suits, really.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I really, really like what Cap says too. And it's taking that to a lesser degree in not necessarily we need to be kept in check and then where they can always use us when they want to, but what if we need to go in and can't?
Right.
I just think it's brilliant because
which happens. Later in the movie, General Ross says, "No, I'm sending in my guys.
Yeah.
You're sitting out."
Yeah, it's because.
Which, by the way, I'm glad we finally got another Hulk tie-in since we changed our Hulk actor.
They finally pretended like the redheaded stepchild actually happened. I think what's so cool is that I have actually gotten in conversations with people after the film. A lot of people are really divided on this film as far as Team Cap or Team Iron Man, and I think the movie completely succeeded in that because that's what should have happened.
Exactly.
And one of the reasons this is so high in my rankings of this cinematic universe is this was the first time you do not have a clear cut who you should be rooting for.
Everybody's gray.
Everyone is gray, which is what makes Game of Thrones so compelling.
Yes.
This is literally the first time...
They're humanized. Everybody's gray.
Even the fucking bad guy. You're like, I totally understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
This is the first time we've had villains that have been done cool and done really well. We have a lot of them that have no motivations.
But they were always clear cut and dry. This is the hero. This is the villain.
Yeah, I just think it's so...
Hero beats villain. Really, at the end of the day, who won in this movie?
And we're going to talk about that in a bit, too, because we're going to cycle around. We're basically talking about the beginning, and then I'm going to go into characters, and we're going to talk about the ending. That's how I've kind of structured it. Really quickly, before we move over into characters, I wanted to actually bring up, you were alluding to it, what side were you on between Team Cap and Team Iron Man pre and post watching the movie?
I was always Team Cap.
You were going in, going out, Team Cap?
Going in, going out.
Me too.
And the only reason for that on me is, in my opinion, superheroes always need to be separate from the government because of that line that Cap has. That's exactly why when they said that in the movie, I was like, oh my God, they have political agendas. That is what I don't like about any government body being over them.
And you want to know what...
Because, Winter Soldier was already the perfect example of what Cap's been through.
And one of the other, one of my other favorite lines from the film too, is one that the setup basically all this happens mostly. It's obviously been set up by the other catastrophic events, but the nail in the coffin is when Scarlet Witch accidentally, while saving people, accidentally kills others.
Something had to happen to prompt all of this. In addition to everything else, there had to be one final nail in the coffin, like you said. and I expected it, but still, when that moment happened, my jaw hit the floor just like Scarlet Witch's did when it happened.
And what's so gripping about it too is it's so earned because these movies have been popcorn and fluffy.
Yeah.
And then when you see them actually have, like what you're talking about, that impacted me.
Yeah.
Like watching it, where you felt it, because like she didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
She
was doing what you expect the superhero to do, but it does not turn out the way you expected.
And it comes back around to that line I was just about to bring up, is that when Scarlet Witch is feeling distraught about it, he goes in to talk to her. He's basically saying, it wasn't all your fault. It was on me. You shouldn't have even been put in that situation. Then he says, you have to realize that sometimes saving people doesn't mean saving everyone.
Yes.
What happens next time when maybe we don't get to save anyone?
Yeah.
It's the paraphrase, but you remember the line I'm talking about that he says to her.
Because he says if you dwell on it or something like that, the next time you might not save anyone.
Yeah, it's
move
one of those
past
things
it.
where he is approaching it like a soldier.
I was going to say, like a soldier, which is what he is. And then, as heavy as that scene is, Vision walks through the wall. Vision, we've talked about this, but the door was open, so I assumed.
I liked how she had a nickname for him too. She called him Viz sometimes. That was pretty adorable. But yeah, now.
Which is, by the way, having a nickname for him is a perfect way to show how accepted he is on the team now.
Now
well, I'm just sorry though. A red android walking around in a sweater vest.
That's pretty fantastic. So now we're going to transition over into the characters, because I want to go into more in depth with them one at a time. I thought the balancing overall was just about perfect, and was actually the best that it's been done since the first Avengers film. Because the way that they did it was that people who were going to have a smaller amount of screen time make a big impact in the screen time they're allotted.
Yes.
Primarily, and we're going to talk about them specifically in a few minutes, but Ant-Man and Spider-Man both have big impact for the small amount of screen time they get. Yeah. It feels like I never felt like anyone was overshadowing anybody.
I never did either.
This was a Captain America movie, but I didn't feel cheated as a Cap fan because they was all balanced so well.
The two heaviest hitters in this is Iron Man and Captain America, and when are they not the two heaviest hitters? So everything was balanced exactly the way you would hope it would be. The smaller fry that have more movies coming up had the lesser amount of screen time, which made total sense. This movie is between two different sides of the coin, one led by Iron Man and one led by Captain America. So, of course, they have the most screen time. But, yeah, like you said, I mean, what a nightmare it must have been to balance these characters.
I can't imagine how many fucking nights they had with no sleep trying to get this right, because like we were saying,
I don't know how many nights they just woke up in the middle of the night and had to turn on a lamp and start jotting shit down.
Dude, no kidding. And we need to give them some kudos. Okay, the directors are the Russo brothers. Second unit were the John Wick guys. I don't know their names, but people know who they are.
Which, by the way, you notice you get movies like this when it's pairs. There's a pair of directors. There's a pair of the action guys.
Yeah.
You notice you get a lot more movies like this.
And it's a paired writing team. It is Marcus and Freely, I think, are their names. And they are the guys who have done... You want to talk about, like... These guys went from Captain America to Winter Soldier to Civil War. Those are all completely different movies.
Yep.
Like, for them to be able to tackle them one at a time like that and make them all good in their own way and get progressively bigger and bigger, like, I think they did a fantastic job making that writing team and the Russo brothers as the directing team. Those four dudes are doing Infinity War, and like they just keep getting better and better. Like, I really think that they're in for something special, because like it's one of those things that we always talked about. How with George Lucas in the Star Wars prequels, he was George Dredd, he was Judge, Jury, and Executioner, like you said. Yeah. And when you have four heads working on this, you really don't have shit ideas, because there's stronger heads are gonna prevail, type of thing. Like they're never gonna have a bad idea because they have so many smart guys who know this shit in and out working on it. I think it's a fantastic idea, because like poor Joss Whedon was doing it all by himself. And obviously got burned out. And when you're divvying up the load between four dudes, it won't be as exhausting for them.
And this is a thought that I had that I was originally going to text you about that I decided to save for tonight, but I forgot about it till you mentioned Joss Whedon. So Age of Ultron, Joss Whedon had to balance the movie he wanted to make with what the studio wanted him to set up for the future movies, right? Age of Ultron ended up being like a 2.5 hour trailer for phase 2 and 3.
Pretty much.
Well, I guess Phase 3 mostly. It was the second to last movie in Phase 2. So I think not only was it because we have a pair of writers, a pair of directors, and a pair of the action directors? What were they?
Second unit and action consultants, I think was their official title.
So not only do we have a pair there, which, like you said, they can balance each other out, and all the best ideas come forward. But I think the studio themselves learned their lesson about Age of Ultron, and while they still set stuff up, I think they gave them more free reign to do the setting up and just said, this is the list of what we want, and then stepped back.
Yeah, and
because Joss Whedon said that they were kind of always on his back.
And the way that they, like you were saying, like how you pointed out, it was like they had free range, was like really smart because there is so much set up going forward in this film, but none of it is ever glaring, which is like that. Like that.
Age of Ultron all of a sudden felt like you had an intermission with a trailer and then back.
Yeah, the Thor thing was especially bad. I still don't even know what happened in that scene.
Yeah,
and
I've
seen it,
or why.
Yeah. But yeah, like there's just so much going on. So much is set up just brilliantly, and the lack of origins is done really well. You don't fucking need Spider-Man's origin, and bless them for not including it.
Right.
It's a long story. That's it.
Yeah.
That's literally what it says in the movie, and totally works.
And it's a story that everybody knows.
Yeah,
so it works just fine.
I just thought it was done so well. I actually wanted to point out too, I think this is overall, they're always good, but this is the best overall acting they've ever had because of the subject matter. They can all show their range. You see, I mean, Robert Downey Jr. is always fantastic as Tony Stark, but you see him go on a roller coaster ride of emotions through this.
And they shifted the focus to the personas because as your 13th movie, like I stated earlier, you're overseeing Iron Man fly around the sky and blow shit up. Like as cool as it always is, how many times have you seen it now? It doesn't need to be the focus anymore.
Robert Downey Jr. was that scene where the broken, it wasn't broken, but the teleprompter has been updated and it has Pepper's name on it. His raw reaction to just standing up on that stage.
Yeah,
it's just like so human because like they were so smart at setting him up for this to happen because he's vulnerable. And that's he's going through a breakout with Pepper. Ultron was squarely his fault. He's at the beginning of it. He's actually giving out MIT grants.
Yeah,
because he feels guilty. Another brilliant little tie into Spider-Man, which how that was handled.
Dude, that conversation in front of the elevator, that was heavy.
It hits you square in the freaking gut, man.
Yeah.
And when he goes back into the conversation about the Accords, and he brings him up, I think it was Charlie Spencer. I think was the name of the kid he's talking about.
Dropped a building on him, while
we were kicking ass. The way he delivers that line is gold too. Robert Downey Jr. He's always good, but I think this is his performance in this movie. I think is up there with like Heath Ledger's in the grand scheme of superhero movies as far as performances. His fucking every line is not only. Like, he doesn't only pull off his Tony Stark, lovable smartassery, but, like, that kicking ass line. Like, he really shows how broken he is at the moment at all points during the movie. The other thing, too, the other Iron Man note I put down, is I fucking loved how some of the action moments are set up for character moments. Mm-hmm. The cool scene you see in the trailer where he blocks the Bucky bullet.
Oh, my God. His reaction to that.
And not only that, but it's a character moment because when they're going after Bucky has been turned and he's going loose inside the office building, he tells Black Widow and Ross, I think he tells Black Widow when they're leaving to go after Bucky, I'm on active duty, I can't do anything. He has signed on to the Accords, but he's never not Iron Man. He can't fully give it up. He's still got his hand blaster. So it was a fucking awesome action scene and a character moment. It was like so good when you and then like the reaction you're talking about. There are so many fucking moments in this movie that are just absolute gold. It's just mind-blowing. Chris Evans is awesome.
Yeah, he is.
The scene, and this was the other thing that just about broke me, Agent Carter's death and funeral.
Oh, dude. Here's what was funny. When he got that text message and says she went in her sleep or whatever it said, I instantly went, no. And then after I did that, I heard my wife next to me go, oh. And then when they finally showed the funeral and her portrait, I heard all the people around us go,
I remember specifically my first my I think I did the exact same thing. I think I went like, oh no, it's such a
because the thing that's always stuck with me is how much I love that character, and then seeing her in Winter Soldier is heartbreaking. And then it's like they totally drop it on you. They build you up like, oh my god, it's Agent Carter. She's still Agent Carter. And then she has a coughing fit, and all of a sudden she starts over again because she completely forgot. And you're like, no, Agent Carter. And then he gets that text message, and I instantly knew. But I did love what an awesome way to tie in. What is it, Agent 33? Who the fuck was his neighbor in Winter Soldier?
Agent 13, who is Sharon Carter.
Okay, is 33 the one in S.H.I.E.L.D. that her face looked like May because of the thing?
So.
See, they shouldn't have had threes. I get them mixed up all the time. But yeah, that was an awesome way to make her Carter's niece.
Yeah, the scene too. First of all, Chris Evans when he's the pallbearer and he's carrying the coffin and he's bawling, he's devastated. It's like you're seeing a superhero cry. This is a Marvel movie, and I teared up during the Peggy Carter funeral. And that's what I think put it over the top for me, is because
and I dealt with that with like a real death, because I'm sitting there in that scene like, well, at least she went in her sleep. Like, she's the only one that had a peaceful death.
The brilliant thing about it is literally every little thing can be earned, because they are a part of the family. Because how many hours have you and I spent watching these characters in these movies? Agent Carter, in the Agent Carter TV show.
Yeah,
they're a family member almost to you now.
Yeah, pretty much.
It is so brilliantly fucking done. I like I was saying, I love Iron Man has signed the Accords. He can't fully give up being Iron Man. He will always be Iron Man.
Yeah.
I actually really, really liked the way they played Black Widow's duality. She switches sides probably like 4 or 5 times throughout the movie, and he never is like...
You just can't give up being double agent, can you? Yeah. I liked, since we're talking spoilers now anyway, I liked when they were divided at the airport before that fight started, and she's like, we're still friends, right? And he's like, oh yeah, I'm here because I owe a debt.
Depends on how hard you hit me.
Yeah, depends on how hard you hit me. Yeah. Like, he was there because he felt like he owed a debt to Scarlet Witch,
which he did because of her brother.
He did.
Brilliant.
But here's the thing: just like any assassin movie or any secret agent movie, Hawkeye is there because it's nothing personal. It's just the job. I liked that part.
One of my other favorite lines where he's like, I've been retired for 5 minutes and it all went to shit.
Yeah, I
love Hawkeye, dude. Why do people give him shit from Age of Ultron? I will never know.
I don't know.
All of my favorite scenes from Age of Ultron are Hawkeye scenes.
Yeah.
If you stay in here, it's okay, but if you walk out that door, you're an Avenger.
Dude, that line made me feel like I could be an Avenger.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so good. But yeah, Hawkeye, fucking awesomeness. That fucking motivation of him doing it because he feels a debt to Scarlet Witch came out of nowhere, and I was stunned at how awesome that was, because it totally provided a better payoff for those characters than they ever got in Age of Ultron. The twins between Quicksilver and her,
and it's also a character thing for him because he feels like he owes a debt, and he's there fucking paying the debt. He has a line, someone says something like, what are you doing here? Whatever, he says, disappointing my kids, or something like that.
Yeah, he said, I should be on a skiing trip with my kids. Yeah.
But his honor won't let him step aside.
One of the fucking most unsung heroes of this movie is, dude, how badass is the Falcon in this movie?
Dude, that opening scene when they're running down Crossbones, holy goddamn, dude.
Okay,
here's the thing. As being one of the worst superheroes in comic book history with one of the worst costumes, I feel like they felt the need to really sell him as an Avenger to you.
He has a telekinetic connection to a bird, and they made it a fucking drone, and it's like the 5-year-old Captain America comic geek in me exploded. It was so fucking amazing.
And not only that, they had the line in there where he's like, you say thank you to him, or you got to thank him, or whatever. And she's like, no, I'm not
thanking that thing.
I'm not thanking that thing.
His name's Redwing.
You should pet him. He's cute. You know it. You should pet him. He's still thinking about it like the comic character thought of his bird.
Whoever fucking came up with that, making Redwing a drone, give the guy goddamn Nobel Peace Prize. 'Cause that's like the coolest thing ever,
dude. And everything that what innovative ways to use his wings.
He uses it as a shield. He uses it as a shield on his back while he's setting up the drone targets. And you see that badass shot where everything blows up behind him. Yeah. Oh my god, I want to go watch the movie again. Dude, now.
They transformed into 3 or 4 different positions the whole time.
And then the other thing too, I would watch 3 buddy cop movies of the Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Oh yeah,
their lines between each other are fucking gold. Like when they're in the little bug, the car. He's like, "Could you please scoot up your seat?" No. That fucking line after Cap kisses Sharon, they're just like they do that nod like. And then one of my all-time favorite scenes of the movie is when they're fighting Spider-Man, and then he fucking nukes him with Red Wing, and he's just like, and Winter Soldier's like, "You could have done that earlier," and then there's a pause. He's like, "I hate you."
Yeah, dude, they had a pretty awesome dynamic on screen.
I would watch 3 movies of just those two being assholes to each other because it was like Lethal Weapon almost. Like
I love Spider-Man's reactions to them. By the way, I'm sure you have a whole note just on that. But
yeah, we could actually. I fucking. The actor Sebastian Stan, who was Bucky, was also very good in this movie.
Yes, he was.
What's crazy too is not only do they have to balance motivations, but you have to balance still making everyone appear like a badass and being able to hold their own. Like, where's that scene when they turn Bucky in the office building, and it's like 6 of them v Bucky, and he's holding his own. You're just like the Winter Soldier, dude. If he's turned,
by the way, we haven't sold that scene yet. His acting as the guy is reciting the words from the book to activate him. Like,
he's just like, he has the reaction that we did to Agent Carter's funeral. He's like, no, don't, please don't.
Yeah,
it's so good. And then while we talk now, let's bring up Spidey.
Okay,
you go ahead.
You're the one with the notes.
He's in the movie for 20 minutes, and it is by far the best Spider-Man film we've ever gotten.
Yep. What I was going to say earlier, when he's fighting Falcon and Winter Soldier. Like, oh, dude, what are your wings? Carbon fiber? Like, he's just completely geeking out. And then later, when he blocks the punch, whoa, you have a metal arm, dude. That's awesome. He's such a kid. It's amazing.
They sell him as a kid, and yet it's charming and not annoying.
You know, one thing I appreciated. I've been worried about how they may or may not do his spider sense. They treated it like Daredevil treats his powers in that show. They just alluded to it.
I think they might do a little bit more with that in the movie because they don't want to spoil it for the movie. But yeah, within the film, it's done really, really cool. Yeah. And also, this actually ties in to my point earlier about Iron Man having the character moment with the glove phaser hand type thing.
Yeah,
they fucking had an awesome reason for his eyes changing sizes because he's still getting accustomed to his spider sense and he can't concentrate, so it literally helps him concentrate through his spider sense. Fucking genius. I
also like how some iterations where the eyes are kind of dark and stuff, and they had Tony Stark holding the mask like, Jesus, can you see out of these things? And he's like, dude, my senses are dialed up to 11.
And we have to talk about when it pops up Queens and you know what's coming. I love, I've seen it now twice, the fan reaction in the crowd to when they realize Peter Parker's happening in the MCU. Everyone freaks the fuck out, dude. And it's amazing. And I am so glad that part of their casting for Tom Holland and all the other actors for Spider-Man was they did screen tests with him and Robert Downey Jr. and whoever the actor would be with Chris Evans, because fucking Tom Holland and Robert Downey Jr. have chemistry in that scene. Like, they've been working together for 12 movies.
Yeah,
that was the first time they ever worked together. It's gold. His fucking Robert Downey Jr. flirting with Aunt May, gold. I love how Spidey's playing off like he's actually not Spidey. He's like, it's all shit on YouTube. It's all fake. You know that, right?
And here's another thing that made it just that much more awesome. You know how he's freaking out that Tony Stark is basically in his house? You know, in real life, he's freaking out that he's working with Robert Downey Jr., right?
Yeah.
That he's fucking working with Iron Man. So that excitement just kind of came through the scene.
What's crazy, too, is he actually, and I thought it was a really
I'm
cool
sorry, it's just, I really have to impress Tony Stark, or Mr. Stark. I'm sorry.
And this was the first time the writers ever did Spider-Man.
Yeah.
They've done fucking Captain America movies.
Dude, Spider-Man, every line was gold. Every line delivery was gold.
That kid, dude. And what's so cool is like the
He's
first
Spider-Man for the next 10 movies at least.
What's so cool is that they introduce him with Robert Downey Jr. and it is like a passing of the torch type of thing.
Yeah.
He's going to be
He's the torchbearer for the next couple phases.
The face of the universe for at least the next 10 years, and he can literally grow into the role because he's starting out, what'd you say, he's like 16 now?
Something like
roughly
that.
16. So the actor's 18. He could do this for 15 years, man, at least. Like, if he can do this long as he wants to.
The other thing that's crazy about this, they can carry his story from high school and into college and everything else. There are kids in that theater they're the same age as him now, and when they're in college, he will be in college in the movies. They'll be growing up with Spider-Man.
It's so fucking cool, dude. Like, I didn't realize just how many problems there were with the. I mean, I really like the Garfield ones. There are elements of the Maguire ones that are good, like the villains. But like when you see it done expertly, you're like, wow, we were making a lot of sacrifices as fans with those other movies, and it wasn't until Marvel got a hold of it. It's like, for the love of God, let these guys get Wolverine, let them get Fantastic Four, because this is when the shit will truly shine. Yeah, it's with those guys. But yeah, Spider-Man was his goal. I cannot be more excited for Homecoming, man.
I know.
The Robert Downey's in that too. Brilliant. I cannot wait. I love how Spider-Man also has that exchange where Cap picks up on his New York accent. Yeah. And he's like, kid, where are you from? Because he knows he's from New York because he can place the accent. He's like, Queen's like Brooklyn.
So and I love that happened also when that fight scene is over. Like, he just dropped like a whole terminal on him, and stuff like that. And he's just like, hey, by the way, kid, where are you from? And he's just kind of like, Queen. Brooklyn. And
I like how when he first comes in, he webs Cap's shield away from him. Is clearly on Tony Stark's side. He's like, "Hi, Captain America, big fan." He's like such a little kid. I geeked out so fucking hardcore during every line that kid said in that movie.
What's funny is he's geeking out in the movie as much as we are watching him.
It's so fucking good,
dude. And what made me happy, like. Okay, I've sat through a not funny Spider-Man. I've sat through a hilarious Spider-Man. I sat through all that. But the thing that blew me away about the Amazing Spider-Man movies more than anything is I have played a shit ton of Spider-Man games, both movie-based and non-movie-based. And they always have him moving the same way. They always have him standing a certain way. They have his fighting style a certain way. And those are all uniform across the games. And that's the way I imagine Spider-Man, someone with those powers, would be. Because, yeah, he's strong, but he's not necessarily a fighter or a brawler. But what he is he's agile and he's fast. And just like in the games when you're controlling him, or like in the cartoon that you and I grew up with, you depend heavily on webbing. They had all of those elements in the way he fought in that. He
uses the webs more in that than he ever did before, and the other like 5 movies combined.
Yeah, he doesn't get really into fistfights like Tobey Maguire did for some reason, or anything like that. He shies away from them because he's stronger at a distance.
He webs and takes down the Falcon by webbing his wings. Like
he webs up the jetpack and the wings.
He actually he takes like
he approaches Batman. Smart.
He approaches it like Batman. Like he's smart about tactically going after them.
I mean, Tobey Maguire never did that to the Goblin's glider. Like he never immobilized him like that. Hardly. Yeah, to see him using more speed and agility and web than anything made me so fucking happy. Because my favorite Marvel character, from what I know of the Marvel Universe anyway, since I don't read the comics, but of all the cartoons, all the video games, everything I've ever been through, has always been Spider-Man.
Spider-Man is my number one, too.
Yeah, and everything about that character is perfect for me and resonates for me. And I just wanted to cry and jizz in my pants and shit myself all at once watching him on screen.
And the way the action was shot with him was
had I sneezed, I probably would have done all 3 of those things at once.
It was really cool plotting too for who they set up to fight each other, because when you have Bucky v Falcon v Spider-Man type of thing going down, like he's able to actually have like full on aerial combat, which is another thing. Fucking Green Goblin had a glider, and like you said, they always happen to get into a fist fight somehow
on the ground or on top of a building.
There was actual.
How many times in the cartoon did you see them in a fist fight on the ground?
They were always flying crazy, doing 360s through the air all the time,
and somehow his webbing always ends up on the glider, and he gets slammed into buildings and shit.
Yeah, it's just fucking amazing. The action was.
It felt like Spider-Man. He sounded like Spider-Man. He looked like Spider-Man. It was fucking Spider-Man, Jeff.
Yeah, it was. It blew my mind, dude.
I blew more than just my mind, I think.
Here's another one. I went into this movie not really giving a shit about Black Panther. I'm really excited for the Black Panther movie now.
Dude. And here's another thing I appreciated about Black Panther. So everybody else has all these character moments, right? Spider-Man's kind of in there like to introduce him and to be fun, because Spider-Man is supposed to be fun, even though everything in his life is tragic. And
he almost copes with it by being himself.
Yeah, everything that happens in his life is a downer. Okay, I mean, they got no money. You know,
he's grabbing Blu-ray players out of the trash, literally in the movie.
Yeah, and like the word I'm looking for is escaping me, but he isn't. I guess he indirectly gets his uncle killed, you could say. His parents died in a plane crash, when he was young. Like, everything about him depresses you. But
all he has in the world is his aunt.
Yeah, all he has in the world is his aunt and his sense of humor. And in Black Panther, what they did with him was remarkable, because they didn't just throw him into the mix. He learned a life lesson by the end of the movie, because he's hell-bent on revenge. He's angry. He's going to stop at nothing. He doesn't care who gets in his way. And by the end of the movie, he's kind of learned that he was basically a monster, more or less.
And I wanted
a life lesson out of it.
You made me think of one quick thing about Spidey before I go back to Black Panther.
Okay.
I loved how they had a character moment where they brought up the point where he was like, I would love to play football, but I can't because I couldn't back then. He's actually trapped by his powers,
right?
As a teenager, because he wants to have a social life. His powers could help him have a social life and have more friends. But he's such a good fucking dude. He's a 16-year-old kid who doesn't take advantage of his powers.
Right.
Great fucking character moment. But yeah, back to Black Panther. Is like you were saying. Like, first of all, the actor is fantastic in this.
Yes, he was.
He plays cold.
Have you ever seen him in anything
He was
else?
actually, and I was really excited for this because when I heard he was announced, I went back and watched it. He plays Jackie Robinson in the movie 42, which you should really check out.
I was gonna say, I don't know anything about what you just said.
He was the first black player to play in the major leagues.
Okay, I think I know what movie you're talking about now.
I don't give a shit about baseball, but it's a fantastic movie. It's the one where him and Harrison Ford is playing the owner who brought him in to the major leagues. It was a very good movie. You should check it out. It was the first thing I'd ever seen him in because I watched it because he was casted in this.
Okay.
And like, you will respect his performance even more in this because of how different it is from his acting in that movie. He
has a range.
He's having to play that accent the whole time too. He totally sells the whole time. That'd be a hard accent to pull off too.
It would.
Like the kind of the African one, but not going over the top with it.
Yeah,
great with that. There's a killer line when Black Panther goes in the chase after Cap and Bucky, and they're all in the car together, and Falcon's there too. And they have the joke about, what the fuck you dressed like a cat for? Like, that was a good scene too. But then he has that killer line to Cap where he's just like, how honestly do you think you can protect your friend from me? And you're just like, God damn, dude, I don't want to fuck with this guy.
Yeah.
And he is some of the coolest aspects of Tony Stark and Batman kind of rolled into one.
Pretty much.
He's a fascinating character to me.
I've always, like, my dad, I think, had probably seen Black Panther before, but in something small, in like a cartoon or something. And he said he wasn't familiar with him. And the way I described him to my dad was, I was like, imagine all the ninja aspects of Batman. Like, he's not the full-on detective that Batman is. I don't know a lot about the character, so I'm not 100% sure how wealthy he is. But he's now the king of that country, and he's got all that country's resources at his disposal. And I was like, he just dresses like a cat and fights like Batman.
And did you also notice, too, it was such an awesome little detail. he barely makes a sound, and it's eerie.
Yeah.
Like because like what they do is there's a lot of sequences where you see during the Bucky, Cap, Falcon, and Black Panther chase sequence. Is there's a lot of like them. First of all, there's that wicked fucking scene where he uses the Falcon to catch up to them. You remember that?
Yeah.
He grabs the Falcon's leg, and Falcon's like, what the fuck's happening? Is this Panther dude is using me as a vehicle almost. And he uses that to like propel himself onto Bucky. Bucky is on the bike, and then he's trying to basically get Black Panther off of him, and he tries to sling him to the wall. Black Panther fucking runs over the wall. Oh, there's so many cool action scenes. But there's a scene where Cap, Winter Soldier jumps off the building, Cap jumps off the building, they'll make a sound, and then Black Panther just lands and it's silent. You're just like, shit, dude, he's scary.
Yeah.
You do not want to fuck with him.
He embodied the aspects you'd expect him to of a cat. So, yeah.
I went into this movie in that costume.
Yeah.
Holy shit, his costume
what
is
a
wicked.
cool way to take care of his origin story and introduce him, and he learns a life lesson. You know, like he's one of the villains of this movie, kinda.
He is the whole and he realizes,
and he's another example I was talking about of Marvel not shying away from superheroes killing. Because he's out to kill the Winter Soldier.
Yeah,
and anyone else that tries to get in his way.
Man,
like he tries to avoid it, but he threatens that if you keep getting in my way, I'm going to take you down too.
His acting too when they kill his dad.
Oh,
it's
I know.
Devastating. You've known that guy for 5 minutes, and he's such a good actor that it's devastating to watch.
And they sold his dad as a really good man too, and then you watch him die.
I was obviously, if they knocked Spidey out of the park, going to be excited because it's fucking Spidey. But my level of interest in Black Panther
went through the roof.
Through the fucking roof. I cannot wait to see what they do with him.
I knew he was a character they could do a lot with. I knew he would be cool. I did not know I would have the emotional attachment to him that I do now.
And like I was saying, his costume.
It's almost a kind of a coming of age thing for him, because not only did he just have this role thrust on him, but like I said, he goes through all the emotions that any superhero goes through, and they have a tragic origin, you know, the revenge story and all that stuff. And he learned that he was no better than the villains, and he was being selfish. He was being selfish, and he was letting, you know, the idea of revenge control him and consume him. So by the end of the movie, he turns from one of the villains in the movie to hero.
It was just, and it never feels rushed. I don't know how they accomplish.
He even has the character moment of, you just seen him the entire movie try to murder someone, and then he keeps that guy from killing himself.
Yeah,
the bad guy
we're going to come back around on that because we're going to talk a lot about the ending.
Spoilers for our own podcast.
Oh my god. Now we have to talk about fucking Ant-Man, dude. Oh my god.
And I fucking told you, by the way. Do you remember?
What was going on? We talked so much, it's all fucking blur of expletives.
I told you in one of our previous episodes that I think they put him in there just to introduce the fact that he can grow. And you said, no, that was a big deal in the comics. They're saving that for his own movie, most likely. And I was like, I don't know. He would have reason to use it here.
And I have never been more glad to be wrong in my entire fucking life, because it is maybe my favorite scene of the movie.
The moment he said he was going to do something and it could potentially rip him in half, I was like, oh my god,
they going to do it?
Grow.
Dude, fucking God bless them for not spoiling that.
Oh, I know.
Because that, if any other studio, Spidey wrapping him up would have been in every goddamn piece of marketing.
Dude, hey, have you guys ever seen that really old movie, Empire Strikes Back?
If you want to talk about how to make it into fucking Jeff's movie of the year list, Spider-Man and Iron Man take out Giant Man while making an Empire Strikes Back reference. They are after my own heart, dude.
And they can do that because it's all Disney.
It's so good. It's so good. Why are we talking about this? Let's go watch the fucking movie right now. But yeah, fucking dude, Ant-Man. I'm shaking your hand too long, aren't I? Paul Rudd is just like gold in every line. It's all gold. He's so good.
You can tell he feels like he's standing among legends, basically. There's Captain America there, like they're all there.
Which was awesome too is, did you actually read the article where someone was interviewing Paul Rudd? And he said he honestly felt that way because Ant-Man was basically the epilogue of Phase 2. He didn't ever get to work with any of them.
Yeah.
It was completely detached. So he said he actually honestly felt that way because he was like walking around. It's like, holy shit, I'm on set with Robert Downey and Cap and all the Avengers. And
isn't it weird to think that like you or I could be walking around like, oh my God, I'm standing here on the set and over there's Robert Downey Jr. and holy shit, that's Chris Evans. And oh my God, like Paul Bettany's right there. And to think that like another movie star that had a wildly successful movie like Paul Rudd is walking around going, oh my God, that's Robert Downey Jr.
Right.
Oh my God, I'm standing here. Hey, there's Chris Evans.
And then I love that scene when they introduce him too. Where he's Scarlet Witch is behind him and he's fascinated and blown away by geeking out over Cap so much, and he turns around and he's just like, he looks at Scarlet Witch, he's like, oh yeah, I know you're great, and he's just like, fuck you, I want to talk to Cap.
Yeah,
fan freaking tastic, man.
Oh
But yeah,
my God.
Ant-Man.
I liked his suit redesign too.
Oh, it's wicked, dude. How
oh my God, I thought it was a water truck.
Ant-Man and fucking and Black Panther's costumes, how did they pull that off? They're so awesome.
Yeah,
they're perfect, and it's just I can't even.
Dude, the vibranium suit that he has, by the way.
Oh man, that when that chopper starts shooting him, he just like looks like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, like it was almost like it's almost just like, oh, I didn't see you there. The way he looks at it.
The best Batman movie we got this year was Black Panther.
Okay. This was something I was saving in my mental notes also to talk to you about. How sold are you on Don Cheadle now as War Machine?
Well, segue into one of my next notes. A little out of order, but that's a good segue. One of my notes, I wrote down, I thought they finally let Don Cheadle shine in the Rhodes role because of the acting ranges they were allowed to display in this film.
Yeah.
I never bought him fully. Basically, in the Terrence Howard kind of like jovial kind of Rhodes, the way that he was originally written.
I took it easier than you did. Like, I really like Don Cheadle, and you know, I bought into the role because one, I just felt like I was kind of stuck with it anyway. Yeah, I preferred Terrence Howard, but I've got nothing against Don Cheadle.
I don't either. I love him as an actor. I've always said it. I didn't like him in that role, but I love him as an actor.
But I feel like they finally wrote the role for him for the first time.
Yeah, and with them being able to have darker subject matter, it shows just, you know, because Don Cheadle has great range.
His delivery of when the truck grows big as it's flying, he's like, oh, come on, and then it explodes. And then oh my God, I thought it was a water truck. And then, like, all of his line delivery, like, with Spider-Man, like, is this kid for real? Or, and he's like, yo, Tony,
how old is this kid? He's a little on the young side.
Yeah.
It's like, the amount of, like, just crazy-ass ideas that were just there to make you geek out. Like, I love how Ant-Man, there's a fucking sequence where he takes down Iron Man within his suit.
Yes.
Fucking awesome. And then he actually has, like, where he's having to escape his suit because he sends in
the fire extinguisher
thing.
Dude, I love wait, why am I hearing voices? Who is this? And he's like, this is your conscience? We haven't spoken a while. That was so gold.
What's like crazy too is like we should be able to quote Avengers because we've seen it 10 times, 15, 20 times.
Yeah.
You saw it once, I've seen it twice, and we're almost quoting the entire goddamn movie.
I know.
That's when you know you've made a good script.
Well, it's because they didn't just have one-liners. They all had one-liners, and they had so many of them, and they were all so good.
Yeah, but yeah, that was a good point. Because of them being able to finally show some of these actors having dramatic chops, I actually really, really liked Rhodes for the first time in this film. That actually does make a good segue too in the one character, and it's not like a negative, it's just I am not as enthusiastic about the character as a lot of others seem to be, and I think you might end up agreeing with me, is I really miss Jarvis. So
I do too.
The Vision just doesn't really do anything for me.
Yeah, really.
Okay, I love Paul Bettany.
He's awesome in that role.
All the roles, the delivery's good, the writing for him is good, but I think it's just the fact that I like Jarvis so much, and it sucks not having Jarvis with Iron Man 2.
And it sucks knowing that he's going to have to die because you got to get the Infinity Gauntlet somehow.
I'm hoping, and it's kind of fucked up to say, for poor Paul Bettany finally getting to act, I hope that Thanos taking the Mind Stone means we get Jarvis back.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that. I'm not anything against them because I thought they did a much better job writing the Vision here than in Ultron. Because I mean, other than the Thor scene where he handed him the hammer.
And you know, it's nothing against the Better Call Saul chick. Like, I really like her as Friday. It's
not the same.
It's not the same. How many times have I seen Jarvis now? And Jarvis is such a smart ass, and she's almost just like Siri.
And it's not only the like. it hurts Iron Man scenes too, because it was like one of the coolest things has always been their. Like some of your favorite
dynamic.
Some of your favorite stuff in the Avengers is like how he tells Jarvis to do something. He's like, already done it. Go.
Yeah.
So cool.
And then Jarvis, have you ever heard the tale of Jonah? I wouldn't consider him a role model.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything? I don't think we missed anyone.
No.
Hawkeye stuff's all gold. I actually I thought the Scarlet Witch was in a lot better too.
That's what I was gonna say.
I liked her scenes.
I had nothing against her in Age of Ultron, but she didn't really get a chance to shine. And there's a pretty good chunk of the movie that just circles around her because she's kind of the cause for the Accords. Like, she's not the cause of it, but like you mentioned earlier, the final nail in the coffin for the Accords. Oh, man. And they did such a good job setting her up with Vision that scene when it's her v Vision v Hawkeye.
Yeah. I love that line, too. I fucking love Hawkeye, dude. He's so underrated. When
I didn't give a shit about Hawkeye until Jeremy Renner.
Vision has him in a chokehold. He's like, you can't overpower me. He's like, she can.
Yeah.
Awesome. Fucking, I love Hawkeye, dude.
I know.
I'm trying to think. I think we touched on all the characters.
There was. I will say this about Vision. Again, nothing against Vision. I love Paul Bettany in that role. Loved him as Jarvis more, but. They did do some really interesting development with Vision, I thought, in this, too. That's one thing we haven't touched on. Because he's there, number one, trying to learn kind of how to be a human with the cooking scene and stuff. And,
in my defense, I have never eaten anything.
Yeah, and then what about that one devastating moment when he fires the mind gem? And it's devastating for a few characters because Falcon dodges it.
And he didn't do anything wrong. He got shot at by fucking Visions.
And he dodged it, which anyone would do. And which makes you wonder if it did that to Rhodey in that armor, just grazing him.
What would it have done?
What would it have done to Falcon?
Yeah, because he... okay, so that's an important scene because that is the fallout amongst them, really, is, it was no one's fault. Rhodes told him to shoot it, actually. He tells him to take out the Falcon, so he ends up having it basically shot at himself. It wasn't his fault. It wasn't Falcon's fault for moving. That scene, the way it's shot, when you see Tony... And it's
in all the trailers, too.
And it was still really impactful because it was shot so well. You see Falcon going down full speed on the left. You see Tony going down the right, and it's quiet. You just hear...
Yeah, boom. They have no music, no nothing. And then...
That was another scene where the audience, I was watching, it was like, oh!
Yeah.
Because you're just like, holy shit, it got real,
Yeah. Yeah, shit just got real. And then he blasts Falcon when he apologizes.
Oh, and Robert Downey's face, man.
Yeah.
When he's just like...
He's so angry.
And the Falcon, he tells him, I'm sorry. He didn't mean... he didn't want it. He was trying to save him, too. You know? And, it's so good.
Which, I wonder, could he even catch him with the Falcon suit? He can carry another person. He could have
slowed him down.
He could have slowed him down. I don't think he would have been
able to fully stop
him. He can catch another person, but with that full suit. But, I like how he said he's flying dead stick. Like, dude, you're falling. You ain't flying anything. But that one, I brought up that to bring up this. The scene at the hospital.
With the Vision?
With the Vision. And so he's like, what happened? He's like, I got distracted or something like that. And he's like, I didn't know that could happen. He's like, neither did I.
And it's because they're setting up some of his stuff with Scarlet Witch. Like, in the comics, they have a romance, and it looks like they're alluding to it, kinda. But I don't know if they'll ever have enough time to fully develop it. But it is a really cool little callback.
Yeah.
That like he got distracted because he really cares about Scarlet Witch. Even though he shouldn't because of his programming. It's a cool little. It's a sci-fi concept in fucking MCU. It's a cool little touch.
But and then I was shocked that they paralyzed Rhodey. I mean, I know he's not really good with the exoskeleton technology and stuff.
He'll never be War Machine again, I don't think. Because I think... Okay, they don't really establish it.
Because, with shit like, him popping... Iron Man popping out of his own suit and he goes into Sentry mode, there's no reason I don't think he could still not be War Machine.
Yeah, I mean, he it depends on, because they never specifically say how he's paralyzed. Is he basically able to walk? Period, because of the Stark tech? Is he?
I think he's only walking because of the Stark tech.
Yeah, he can, but it is like
which is the thing in real life. It's just not nearly as small as what was in the movie.
Yeah, I don't know. I could see it going either way because they want to have an impact left over from this film.
I think, I think he might still be War Machine. I think they're going to need him in Infinity War, but
they need everybody.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to affect him being War Machine, but I think it was for audience impact. No pun intended.
I thought it was. I'm glad that not everyone came away unscathed. There was some carryover for future movies. It wasn't just, hey, we all had a fight, we're good now, everyone go home. And now let's circle back around to the ending.
Okay.
This movie, I thought it was
all the buttons pushed in this.
I thought it was absolutely brilliant in the fact that you basically are, the way it's sold via the trailers is you would think all the airport shit is kind of like the climax of the movie almost. Like, it could have been, that's the big thing. Well,
and what's funny is they showed you some of the scenes from this. Yeah. But it didn't seem like a big deal compared to the airport thing.
Yeah, and I liked how it goes spectacle when it wants to, and then at the end of the day, it's a
all
personal
emotionally
story.
Charged.
It's a personal story between Tony and Cap. There's a twist. There's a couple of twists. This is the first time we've ever had twist, period. There's a couple that are fucking gold in this. Like,
twist.
They go in. Tony and Black Panther find a way to track Cap. They're going after Cap after him and Bucky figure out where the main villain is. So they go here, and it's set up. 99 times out of 100, what's going to happen, and you connect the dots in your brain as a viewer. Black Panther, Cap, Bucky, and Tony are going to team up and fight these Winter Soldiers. Because that's what a normal movie villain would do. That's what a normal Marvel villain would do. And when you go in and you start seeing what's happening, he has killed the Winter Soldiers. That was so cool because this villain didn't have your standard plot.
Yeah.
He didn't want to take over the world. His whole thing, he wanted them to kill each other for him. Because I love his line, too, where he says, I knew I couldn't take you out myself. Stronger men than me have tried and failed. So this whole thing has been about him perfectly executing his plot.
I love intellectual villains.
And this like we talked about earlier,
which is what Lex fucking Luthor was supposed to be.
You totally buy his motivation. He's not trying to rule the world. He uses them as pawns.
Yeah.
He plays them like a fucking fiddle, all of them.
Yeah.
And really, when you think about it, one of the other reasons I like this movie so much, the bad guy won in this movie.
Yeah. He got exactly what he wanted.
This movie, and this is one of my notes too, I actually don't fully think it's a funny joke. The Empire Strikes Back joke, I think, is also a callback to how this movie is kind of like the Empire Strikes Back of this universe.
It's definitely the darkest.
It's the darkest, and the good guys straight up lose.
Yep.
At the end of the movie,
there's no winner at all, really.
There's no winner at all.
Because he doesn't completely get what he wants, but he got more of what he wanted than everybody else did.
They are broken.
He basically showed that God can bleed.
And the thing, more fucking fantastic acting by all of them is the reveal where they show that Bucky, it wasn't him, he was mind controlled, but he did kill Tony's parents.
See, and here's the thing. They mention, I believe it's in Winter Soldier, that basically the general and Dominic Cooper were assassinated eventually by Hydra. But in hearing that, I was still shocked that it was Bucky for some reason. I should have seen that coming.
No, what's funny is the first time I watched it, I actually figured it out when they went out of their way to have that hologram scene with Tony and his parents. That was when I connected the dots, because that was just about 10 minutes after we saw a car crash with Bucky and him saying, well, they never made it to the airport. For whatever reason, it connected me, because like, other than that, why would you really have that scene with him and his parents? That was when, but it was done so fucking well, in that when Tony starts going after Bucky and Cap because Bucky killed his parents, none of them are wrong. You can't blame Tony for going berserk. He just watched his parents get killed.
Yeah.
Brutal, but you talk about dark. When you see Howard Stark getting punched to death,
dude,
the sound effect when he's getting punched in the face to death is brutal.
And then Mom was strangled to death, right?
And it's just like
by the way, I watched enough documentaries to know it takes about 4.5 minutes to strangle someone. That's why it's always considered first-degree murder.
That the lines they have amongst each other too when they're fighting. And Tony is just like, and Cap isn't wrong either. It wasn't Bucky, but he's just like, I don't care. He killed my mom.
And you know what though? The other thing too that I like that they did with Tony, he kind of recognizes the fact that Bucky was not Bucky when he did it, right? Yeah. Because of the line that he said. Like, did you know? And he said, I didn't know it was him. And he's basically, don't bullshit me. Did you know? Like, did you know at all? That's what he's furious about the most.
Pretty much. And you can't really blame Cap either.
Yeah.
Because really, I think when he kind of officially pieced it together, is that, like, he didn't want to believe it. You know, it was one of those things where, because at the end of the day, Bucky really didn't kill him. Hydra did, you know?
Right.
Bucky was a tool. So it creates unnecessary conflict, and really, he was, in a way, trying to help Tony, because it is opening up literally 25-year-old wounds, you know?
You know, and, like, he has that line in that letter to Tony where he was just talking about how I thought I was protecting you, but now I see that I wasn't.
Yeah, he didn't want to believe that his friend had been turned into this tool for just mass destruction, and it's like, this movie... Just like the conversation we've had recently about it tonight, and then over the last few days, it's so fucking intellectual that, like, it made me
you almost tear up. Also in that same letter, it says, "Whenever you need me, I'll be there." Even after all this shit that happened.
And we need to backtrack a little bit. I really, really like the fact how Tony realized he was in the right place, wanting to sign the Accords. They signed the Accords, and he is in bed with the wrong people. They have all of Team Cap locked up on a fucking serial killer barge.
Yeah.
Like, it is basically Arkham Asylum in the Marvel Universe.
Pretty much.
And when he's walking around between them, and, you know, Hawkeye is calling him out because, like, we were friends, and look where I am now.
Yeah.
You are helping these people do this. And then, like you brought up earlier, he really realizes he kind of made the wrong choice when he goes to Ross, and he has the proof. Bucky didn't do it. We have something else to worry about. He's like, no, you are not. I just saw what you did at that airport. You are grounded.
Yeah.
And then Tony has that great, you know, line where he basically, like, when he tells him to fuck off, and he goes out to go and find Cap himself.
Yeah.
And it's so cool that, like, they got that moment where Tony realized, like, what was going on. He says straight up, probably the only time we'll ever hear Tony Stark in the MCU say, I was wrong, you know.
Yeah.
And I think even Falcon or Hawkeye had a smart ass quip about it. And that whole barge sequence is really, really well written too. When they're all basically like, I like the Ant-Man exchange where he's just like, I love it was a Hank Pym callback too. Hank Pym always said never trust a Stark. He's like, who are you? He's like, come on, man. More awesome character moments, but yeah, the ending with where you have the Black Panther moments you've been talking about. Where Black Panther goes and finds Zemo out in snow. And then you have the full reveal about Zemo, you know, with his family.
Again, another great character.
It's another great character. He's, you know, his story's tragic. He has been a complete asshole, but you
agree with Cap, you agree with Iron Man, and in a way you agree with him.
Because they have that chilling line, too, where he's like, my family was outside the city, and my son was excited to see Iron Man outside of the vehicle, or outside the car, whatever he says. And it's just like, his motivation, especially up to the Marvel standard, most of the time we don't even know why the villains are doing what they're doing. It was brilliantly done.
It was brilliantly done. And you know what's even more brilliant? Knowing Civil War was coming, knowing from the trailers what it was about, and you know the trailers where they lay out like New York, and they go to Sokovia, and they go to all that. And another thing I appreciate, by the way, in their marketing that you mentioned, they stop there, but really it also shows Scarlet Witch blowing up that building on accident and stuff. But they cut that out of the trailer too. They cut away right there. Again, complete opposite of Warner Brothers marketing department. But anyways, when we went back and watched like Avengers and Age of Ultron and everything else, even in the first Avengers movie, they were setting up Civil War, dude. Like, even before that, and some of the movies before that, it was being set up.
Oh, dude.
It's just crazy.
I just remember this, too. Part of the setup, too, has been happening even before the films were ever a thing. Because Howard Stark new Captain America. He's just like, I heard your name 1,000 times growing up.
Yeah.
Where Tony's talking about it.
Thank God I hated you.
God, I hated you.
Yeah.
It's so awesome. It's so cool. The when Howard Stark is killed, I had totally forgotten. He recognizes Bucky at the last second. You remember he says Sergeant Barnes or whatever before he starts punching him in the face, and like that was crazy too because I had completely forgotten. You don't think about Dominic Cooper meeting them all back in the day in World War II. It's like,
he was their cue.
It's so brilliant. I love the Black Panther stopping him from killing himself. They have a line today where he's talking about Zemo's talking about death, and then Black Panther, like a fucking boss, stops the bullet with a vibranium. He's just like, the living are not done with you yet.
Yeah.
Awesome fucking line.
Awesome line.
I love me some Black Panther, man. And
yeah, as of that movie, I'm a huge Black Panther fan.
Me too.
Always have been,
I bet we were fucking way ahead of the curve on that one, dude. But yeah, I think just because of how many layers this movie has and how intellectual it is.
It's beyond an onion in layers, dude.
It's like when you go back and watch it a second time and you see how brilliantly the breadcrumbs are laid out.
I'm sure now a lot of the shock and awe of the movie, well, that fog will be lifted. I can actually look at it through a more clear lens. Which happened to me on Age of Ultron, actually.
Where you ended up liking it better?
That was my second time seeing it.
I liked it better
in
the second
theaters,
time, too.
And I bought it to put it with the rest of the MCU, more or less. I had never even opened it. So I actually ended up liking it a lot better, but it's still the weakest of the Marvel movies, which is not saying, again, even with
it's like a 7. That's the worst I've ever done.
Exactly. Yeah.
This fucking movie, dude. I will go back and probably watch this at least one more. I'll probably end up watching this at least 3 or 4 times in the theater.
Yeah. And it's one of those. It's got so much going on. You'll notice something new every time you watch it.
Yeah, that's another good point.
Or if you don't notice something new, you'll have a new way of thinking about something you saw previously.
And let's talk really quickly too. I love the scene where you mentioned earlier about how Cap sends him the letter.
Yeah.
You have Tony, and that brilliant fucking shot scene. Tony's at his desk, and he's got Ross calling in.
I love it.
And it's hilarious too, but it's cool too because he has the phone with Ross and the phone Cap sent him.
Yeah.
And it's like, the duality between his decisions.
Yeah.
And then he puts him on hold.
Because he likes to watch the line blink. I love it.
And I know we brought up BVS way too many times in this review, but BVS is almost like soul-crushingly exhausting. And after all of this heavy shit,
not even any payoff.
The Tony Stank line.
Yeah.
That's how they go out. It's still, after all of this, you can have dark subject matter and still have jokes. Warner Brothers does not understand that, apparently.
No, apparently not.
There's 2 jokes, I think, in all of BVS, and they were both in the trailer.
The other parallel I wanted to draw, since you brought BVS back up, how similar, not exactly, but look at how similar, what's his name, Zemo?
Is to Lex,
and his motivations kind of for doing things, like not necessarily his motivations, but the way he goes about doing things. Conning them into each other. He's
manipulating them behind the scenes without them ever knowing it, and it's done so fucking much better.
It's amazing how similar these two movies are, but how different they are.
And
by different, I mean one's good and one's fucking terrible.
Like we said earlier multiple times, they couldn't figure out 3 motivations. This movie knows 25,
something like that,
roughly.
And half of them are because they called me in and I'm gonna do them a favor, and it works. Like Ant-Man, like he's doing a favor to Falcon. He's doing a favor
for Falcon, and he idolizes Captain America. That's a pretty goddamn good reason to me to go and help him out. It's fucking Captain America. Who's gonna say no to helping out fucking Captain America in the MCU? He's like fucking.
And then to see some of the other heroes, like, oh my god, I'm such a big fan of you. And so, like, I admire your work.
And the final thing I wanted to say is, you just mentioned it. This movie really. And it's so clever in doing so, has no resolution.
Yes.
This movie will not be resolved until they have to team up to fight Thanos. So
I don't think it'll be resolved then.
Yeah, and you know what? This is actually a scene that I think would be so cool to set up when they finally do team back up to fight the big fight.
Yeah.
Cap leaves his shield next to Tony, where after Tony has said, you haven't earned that shield, you don't deserve it anymore. My dad created that, and he drops the shield.
Yeah.
How cool will it be if when they team back up, it's Tony who hands him back the shield when they start fighting again?
Yeah.
Like,
the other thing about this too, I think, everybody still has their differences in the first Avengers movie, but they came together when they needed to. That's what is going to happen. They're still all going to have their differences. It's still going to be unresolved, but they will put all of that aside because of the threat at hand. And then it just kind of goes back to the way it was afterwards.
And what's kind of cool, too, is that they might team up together, but it will never be the same again.
Yeah.
Tony Stark and Steve Rogers, well, they were never friends, like good friends, but
they respected
each other. They will probably eventually work together again, but they will never be what they were originally.
Yeah.
And it's just so brilliant that this is what makes this movie so great is how much it breaks outside the box and their mold and their formulas and how clever it is about the Winter Soldier stuff. Any other superhero movie, Black Panther, Iron Man, Bucky, and Cap are teaming up to fight those Winter Soldiers, and that's your climax. They all get back together, fight the bad guy, you go home happy. Not what happened.
Yeah,
it's just brilliant. Because what's really so cool about it is the fact, like, one of the complaints I actually saw, like, my buddy V, who, used to work at Cinemark, he still actually works, been removed, forcefully. Some of the complaints are that this movie has no resolution, and that's one of the things I like so much about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Is, like, it is so cool, because, like, you remember when we had conversation about this movie going in, is because, and I'm how we talked about how you are, typically, I don't like it when the heroes are fighting each other. And then it actually ended up being like one of the real strengths of the movie is them breaking outside their own formulas, realizing they do have formulas that they've been sticking to, and then we want to try different stuff.
Well, to me, this movie isn't necessarily about the resolution. What is the most realistic thing about this is a handful of factors that keep getting bigger and bigger and snowballing bigger, finally culminated into this conflict. And just like in real life with any conflict, there's no real resolution because even if there had been a resolution, the conflict would still be there. What has happened is they have now vented most of that conflict. And, it's in real life, if this was going to go another 10, 15, 20 years down the road, you'd probably have another civil war again. So
I love that scene, too. It was one of the last scenes of the movie where Zemo is locked up and what's his name from Sherlock? Martin Freeman.
Yes.
He goes up. Martin Freeman's also in a small role, but he's also awesome in this.
Yes.
As always. He goes up and he goes up and is like, how does it feel to have your plan fail so spectacularly? And he's just like, did it?
Yeah.
Because it's one of those things where a lot of people, like, I think probably the only criticism at all about this film is funny because the people that don't like that it doesn't have a resolution, that's kind of the whole point of it. You know what I mean?
And in a way, it kind of does have a resolution. Because like I said, he made God bleed, basically, is what happened. Because of this movie, the world will not see these heroes the same again. They now know that they are capable of just as much destruction as the forces they have helped and come together to stop. So, to me, it kind of does, in an abstract way, have a resolution.
It's just not the one that you expected as a viewer. And I also love that
it's not the resolution you deserve. It's the one you need right now, or however it's supposed to go.
I really, really like in the mid... first of all, the scene you talked about earlier, how Cap is breaking them all out of the prison barge type thing. Yeah. Really cool. If you need me, I'll be there. And he walks into the screen, and it goes to credits. I really fucking like the character development for Black Panther 2 in the mid-credits scene. Yeah. Because he's basically, he's come fully around. He's realized I was a tool of revenge. I was not even in control of my own actions. I was so overtaken by my own selfish reasons that I'm going to help your friend find justice, Yeah. This is so fucking cool. I love how also they're straight up in Wakanda now, where basically you have two separate Avengers teams now.
Pretty much.
Because you have the Cap-led one where he has I think he has probably, Hawkeye, Falcon, Scarlet Witch, and Ant-Man with him, and that's a separate unit with Black Panther. And because of his resources, they can each be fully resourced. Because Stark can, and the government can payroll the other one, and fucking, badass Black Panther. And they have that killer line where he's just like, if they figure out we're here, they're going to come. He's like, let them try. He's like, I fucking love Black Panther.
And dude, I love that fucking huge-ass like stone statue or whatever it was when it pans out and goes through the mist and you see the big-ass panther.
Oh, dude, I love it.
Now, one thing I was confused about, did they not say there'd be not one, but not two, but 3 credit scenes? And there was only 2. You remember that? We reported on that.
That's a good question. I don't remember.
They said
it rings a bell.
They said in one of them, I think it was Lord, said in an interview that they asked if there's going to be a post-credit scene, and he said there's not 1, there's not 2, but there's 3, I believe was the quote.
Yeah, I know, that's interesting. I don't remember. What's actually interesting, though, is the very end one is just a little cool Spidey moment.
Yeah.
But
I love the web shoot. He's like, oh, it's so itchy, and he's like scratching underneath it.
And then it's pretty much just a
cool way to unveil his logo.
Yeah, they have the logo, and it was, it's set up for him going back with Tony in the new movie.
Love what they did with Aunt May in that scene, because on her deathbed in the comics, doesn't she basically just say, who are you fooling? Like, I've known the whole time who you are. She kind of makes it clear that she knows he's Spider-Man.
She's not an idiot.
Yeah. So,
dude, I want to watch this movie right now.
Yeah,
I just watched it yesterday. It's like that's when they made something special. I think.
Civil War was your most anticipated movie this year, right?
I'm trying to think. What do we have? Okay, we had Deadpool. It was
we had Doctor Strange coming.
It was probably Doctor Strange. The 3 most anticipated were Deadpool, this, and Doctor Strange. This was probably because...
To me, it felt like you were most excited out of everything for this movie.
You're probably right, yeah. You know how much I love The Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
So that alone... And I've told you, my favorite from the comic side is Cap.
Yeah.
So that's helped it push it along, too. I love Captain America.
And then the Avengers movie. And this is Avengers 2.5.
This is Avengers 2 to me. This is... this made, like, Ultron... Ultron's not a bad movie... But it looks like shit compared to this movie.
Yeah,
it really does.
I bring it up because I've told you over and over again my most anticipated movie this year is Doctor Strange. And it is still Doctor Strange, as awesome as this movie was. Just because I had kind of this... This is going to sound odd after just how much we, pumped up this movie. But I still had the same effect going into it that I had on Age of Ultron, which is I've seen Avengers. I've seen, not all of these characters together because of how many more they brought in, but I've seen the team-up movie, and I basically had 2 teams of them in this one. So it wasn't my most anticipated, and it was a damn good movie, but I'm still holding out for Doctor Strange.
This will it's going to be like Doctor Strange or Star Wars or something else that I'm forgetting about is going to have to really wow me for this not to be my movie of the year.
Mm-hmm. I'm still thinking Doctor Strange is going to be my movie of the year.
Which is crazy because if it is, that means it is your at least number 2 favorite Marvel movie. So that's high fucking praise for that movie. So I don't know if it's going to get that high for me because like you were saying, what makes this special is the fact the bad guy wins. Bad guy has a full, clear motivation, and you have no rooting interests.
Yeah.
It is so like...
Some of your favorites are on one side, some of them are on the other. They divided them... Dude, they even split Hawkeye and Black Widow.
Yeah, I think it is just because it's... And not to diss on Avengers. Avengers is basically a perfect movie.
Yeah, pretty much.
But Civil War is a more intellectual movie, and I have so much respect for...
Avengers was what you expect out of a superhero movie. This was nothing that I expected, even though I knew it was going to be nothing like I expected.
What's probably my biggest takeaway from this, though, is I am just as excited for the fucking Black Panther movie of all things as I am Spider-Man.
Yeah.
They're so good at developing these fucking D-list characters like Guardians of the Galaxy or Ant-Man or Black Panther. And, I am just about as excited for Black Panther as I am my favorite Marvel character.
Yeah.
They're so good. It's like...
There's no reason anyone should be that excited about Black Panther.
I know, right? It's
Nothing against that character, just not as interesting as some of the others.
So
he was always kind of one note for me until this.
So yeah, it's going to be hard pressed for me to find something I like better than this.
I'm still just holding out for Doctor Strange because what I know I'm going to appreciate about it is the same thing I said about Ant-Man and Guardians.
Own thing.
It's its own thing in its own right. And dude, we're just the writers, the directors, the cast, the effects we've gotten a taste of. Like, just to me, everything has come together for that movie to be such a ride, but it feels like it's got the same weight this movie has while being just as different as the other two, Guardians and Ant-Man.
Yeah.
So to me, it has the opportunity to be phenomenal.
And by the way, I'm not totally. Doctor Strange. I know I love me some Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I know you're pretty excited for it.
It's just, I think that's what makes Civil War such an achievement.
Like you've said time and time again, ranking these movies at least up to the 13 is like ranking
your children,
your favorite 13 children. Like
the thing. What I think about Civil War and how I view it as such an accomplishment is for us to be able to, for an hour and a half, talk about everything we liked about it. And it is something that you have seen before. That's really, really hard to do as screenwriters. To reinvent the wheel, get you even close to your enjoyment level. Like I said earlier, we got to watch Iron Man and Spider-Man take out Giant Man with an Empire Strikes Back reference. Like, that happened in a movie. Like, this is crazy.
And then they had the awesome, in that same scene that I forgot to mention earlier, they had that awesome moment with Don Cheadle when he was just like, Tony, I think he may be onto something.
And how many lines were we able to pick out of a hat? And I've seen it twice, and you've seen it once. That's pretty spectacular. Like, it is such. I think it is just really like this. I've been really looking forward to this review because there's so much to talk about with this movie. It's so smart. It's so much fun. It accomplishes every little thing it ever set out to do,
and it accomplishes everything BVS tried to do.
Yeah,
and
I actually told you, like, before you watched it. I watched it the Thursday night, and I told you will like BVS even less, and you sure as shit do when you watch this film. But yeah, is there anything else we have missed that we've pretty much touched on almost every little thing in the movie? Yeah. I can't think. Is there anything else?
I mean, I could go on all night about it, but no, I think most of it would just be retreading.
I'm totally 100% on board with you too. I cannot fucking wait for Doctor Strange. Like we go back and check it out. I was probably one of the main title headers. We just,
to quote Kevin Smith, we have sucked its dick a lot.
We had probably like a 30-minute discussion over that minute and a half trailer about how awesome it looked.
Yeah.
So I don't want to make it sound like I'm being negative towards Doctor Strange. It's just like, I think Doctor Strange is going to be fucking amazing. It's going to be hard pressed for me to like something as much as I did this year. But yeah, if you would like to check out more of our content, please like and subscribe. You can get all of our hour and a half long ramblings of talking about the same shit over and over and over and over again.
In our defense, the first half hour is spoiler free.
Yeah, that is, and we actually do stick to that. We don't blatantly say it's going to be spoiler free and then spoil shit within 5 minutes. That pisses me off too. We also do commentaries, let's plays. If you're a Game of Thrones fan, which we obviously are because we reference it a few times.
Yeah.
We talked about fucking Game of Thrones and BVS during the fucking Civil War review somehow, multiple times. But yeah, we have recently started up Tonight's Watch, which is me and Ron every Sunday night recapping the current episode of Game of Thrones. It's been a lot of fun. People seem to be liking it after they've checked it out.
People seem to be checking it out.
It's a rare occurrence for this household. We also have Facebook.
The House of Expletives.
The House of Expletive. You just threw me off. Oh, okay. We have Facebook and Twitter, links below in the description if you are interested in those at all. And last of all, if you know anyone else that might also like us, shockingly, I know those people might exist in the world, all like 10 of them. We would really appreciate the share. I am Geoff.
I'm Ron.
And this has been the Expletive Certified Fresh review of Captain America Civil War.